Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating case study that completely rethinks how we connect with our own neighbors. We're talking about taking all that chaotic, overwhelming online noise and turning it into structured, trusted community information. It's a topic that genuinely impacts our daily lives and how we experience the places we call home. So, let's get into it.
Let's start with a crucial question, one that actually affects every single one of us. How exactly do you find out what's happening right now in your own town? Just think about it for a second. If there's a new restaurant opening up, a sudden road closure, a weekend street festival, or maybe a job opening right down the street, where do you instinctively look?
Well, if your answer was the traditional local newspaper, you are unfortunately part of a rapidly shrinking demographic. The reality of the national local news crisis is pretty stark. Get this, 127 U.S. newspapers closed in just the year 2023 alone. According to research from Northwestern's Medill Local News Initiative, more than half of U.S. counties now have only one or zero local news sources. To put that into perspective, that leaves roughly 55 million people totally disconnected from the fundamental updates of their own communities. It's a massive gap.
And that brings us to Section 1, the fragmented town square. Now, I absolutely love this quote because it hits the nail right on the head. The town square didn't disappear. It exploded. The physical town square just shattered into hundreds of different digital apps and feeds. Look, the local updates certainly didn't stop happening. People are still opening small businesses, schools are still hosting events, local groups are still meeting. But instead of being pinned to one central shared bulletin board or being talked about at the local diner, that vital information is scattered to the wind across Facebook, Instagram, countless group chats, endless email chains, and deeply buried websites. Which leads us right into Section 2, signal versus local noise. We find ourselves stuck in this really weird modern contradiction, right? We are absolutely swimming in data, but we're starving for local context. We've gone from a simple shared physical space to a chaotic algorithm that basically buries what we actually need to see. Think about the old community bulletin board. It was highly effective because it was democratic and static. You just walked by and boom, the flyer for the weekend bake sale was right there. Today, that exact same flyer is converted into a social media post that instantly has to compete with viral global news, outrage bait, and whatever random content the algorithm decides is going to keep you scrolling the longest. And because of all this chaos, we so easily miss real, tangible updates that actually dictate our weekend plans or our local shopping habits. In our source material looking at Hastings, Minnesota, we see some perfect everyday examples of this breakdown. A family might completely miss that Afton Apple Orchard had to temporarily close its parking due to massive strawberry picking crowds, which leads to a super frustrating, wasted drive all the way across town. Or a parent might scroll right past a crucial update from Barb Hollenbach at SC Toys, totally missing out on her highly curated, screen-free educational toys right there in downtown Hastings. When these everyday signals get lost in the noise, the community slowly, quietly loses its connective tissue.
So, how do we fix this? Let's move to Section 3, introducing local pigeon. We can think of this technological solution as a metaphorical pigeon. It's a creature that fundamentally knows how to find its way back home to the specific place that matters. It's not some glossy Silicon Valley hawk designed solely to swoop in and harvest your data. And it's definitely not a loud parrot programmed to just aggressively squawk whatever is trending globally. It is simply a carrier that brings useful, relevant, local messages directly back to the residents who actually need them. The primary goal here is creating what's called local signal infrastructure. Now, I know that sounds like a bit of an academic phrase, but it simply means building a system that helps residents easily find useful local information without having to dig through every single platform themselves. It takes that scattered, chaotic noise of the modern internet and carefully distills it down into clear, findable, and actionable local signals. And this builds into a really practical, highly effective three-step procedure that safely guides information directly from the source right to the residents. First, a local business, organization, or resident submits a simple update. Second, and actually this is the absolute crucial step, a human review layer checks it for basic local relevance, making sure the links actually work and that the identity of the poster is clear. Finally, it's published out to the community. It's an elegant, friction-free way to virtually rebuild the town square. Let's see it in action in Section 4, Hastings Now, the front porch. This infrastructure is what powers platforms like Hastings Now. Instead of an endless, unpredictable feed of noise, the platform organizes everything into structured, highly actionable categories. This way, you can find exactly what you need, exactly when you need it. If you want to know who in town is hiring, there's a dedicated section for that. If you just want to finalize your weekend plans, you simply check Events. It transforms what is normally a highly stressful digital archaeology project into a simple, incredibly useful daily dashboard for a town's residents. Now, what is really interesting about this approach is how it uses simple visual labels to build immense trust within the community, all without requiring heavy, slow institutional gatekeeping. Because right now, across the whole country, there is a massive proliferation of fake, AI-generated local news websites. Media researchers often call this pink slime, and these sites are literally designed to quietly push political agendas under the guise of being local updates. By clearly labeling an update as verified source or self-reported, this system doesn't just passively display information, it actively practices vital civic hygiene, letting the reader decide how to weigh the information for themselves. Which brings us to the philosophical core of our explainer, Section 5, Attention as a Civic Act. Because honestly, what a town pays attention to ultimately becomes what a town values. When a town actively captures these everyday moments, like a high school wrestling team event or a quick 30-second local soundbite, it builds a living, breathing scrapbook. It proves that civic memory is truly essential infrastructure. We have to remember that the internet is absolutely brilliant at novelty, but it is deeply, terribly bad at memory. A local art class or a generous act by a small downtown business shouldn't just vanish into the digital ether after 4 hours of being online. Capturing these moments deliberately allows a community to actually tell its own story over time. So the most crucial takeaway from this entire explainer is this powerful realization: the technology is merely the carrier. The pigeon is not the hero. The town is. The local pigeon system doesn't somehow invent or create the vibrant culture of Hastings, Minnesota. The restaurant owners, the school teachers, the firefighters, the artists, the everyday neighbors, they are the ones authentically generating the signal. The technology simply gives their voices the wings they deserve so they can actually be heard above the noise. So, I want to leave you with one final provocative question. How does your community decide what is worth knowing together? Because without a shared space, we kind of lose our shared reality. Think about the local signals that are trying to break through in your own town right now. What would it look like if you finally cleared away the noise and truly heard them?